Okay, so let's see.
Okay.
Welcome everyone to the Mastermind Book Club. Tonight we are reviewing a brief summary of the talk given by Neville Goddard back in 1968, most probably in New York area, although I could be wrong. But it's a talk that is very powerful. What was it called? Live in the End. So tonight is a little bit different. I'd like to have three of our guests talk to us about what they learned from this audio that we listened to. So Gina, not to put you on the spot, Gina Pouchet, is that correct?
That's it.
Did I pronounce it correctly?
That's correct. Yes.
Merci. So Gina, what can you tell us about this book?
Okay, thanks, David. It's talking about living in the end, and Neville Goddard usually, he proposes that imagination is God, that imagination creates reality, and that whatever it is that we want, if we are able to see it, just like Jesus said, you believe, then you shall receive. So Neville is actually saying, if you're able to see it in your mind's eye, and then you living the feeling of that which you want, it will come to you. It has to. So that would be how I would wrap this up. Faith, the size of a mustard seed, I guess we can use as an example, that anything is possible to us, if we believe. So his words are kind of like resonating with what we already know, what we already learned, but he is teaching us how to actually use them rather than just, saying them out and saying that we believe them, but to practice them in essence. So that's my,
Gina,
my wrap up. Yeah.
One question. Have you had any opportunity to apply this in your life, living in the end?
You know what? I have, David.
Yes.
And especially, I can remember, a couple of times when I used them. One was an incident that was very traumatic. Well, it could have turned out to be pretty traumatic. And in the end, it turned out to be a lot less than, than what I heard, because it's like somebody in the family had a trauma. And this was on August 20th of last year. And my sister called me. I was at it was my daughter's birthday, and we were at a restaurant, and she said to me, somebody in the family, one of our relatives got shot. And she said that he was in critical condition at the hospital. Okay. And then I remember when she told me that, I didn't go like, oh, that's, very bad, and, so forth and so on. It just kind of like hit me. I remember some of the things that Neville said. And so I decided to picture hearing good news from him instead. Okay. And it was amazing to me, because usually I would go ahead and I would say, tell everybody else by the table, and then I'll have that sad face, how we do. And then it's kind of like, oh my goodness, one of our cousins just got shot. And, and then everybody would sit around the table, and then we would change the conversation. But this time I decided not to do that. And I pictured this individual instead, being healthy, that it wasn't really that big of a deal. It didn't, really hurt him. Like, my sister had said. And believe it or not, when I came back home that evening, I checked, I was checking Facebook, because, well, not checking Facebook, I wanted to post, about the party on Facebook, because I didn't even call my aunt to say anything. And so then I posted some pictures, and she sent me, you know, a note saying, "Oh, that's such beautiful, you know, say happy birthday, you know, to my daughter." And so I was like, wow, that's amazing. She didn't say anything about, you know, her son. And then the next day, you know, came, I didn't hear anything else. I didn't say anything else. And then a few weeks passed, and then I was wondering, it was like almost a month later. And then I was like, I wonder what happened. I haven't heard anything, you know. And then when my sister called again, I asked her about it, and she said, oh, it turned out not to be that big of a deal. He was discharged pretty much that night from the hospital. I was
Wow,
like, wow.
it's amazing.
So I don't know, you know, if it worked or not. I believe it, you know. And I was quite amazed by it. I was curious to ask, but I didn't like. I'm thinking, you know, I want some time to pass by first. I want to test this to see that it's true. And
So the
then I
only
had
thing I
another
would,
occasion that I used it on, but I'm not going to
God,
go into detail. And I feel that it worked very
Gina,
well. Yeah.
I
Go ahead.
believe it worked.
Yes.
I believe that, hold on one second, Martha, we got to mute your line. All right. Thank you, Martha. So the reality is that we need to believe,
Mm-hmm.
and we need to believe some more. And
Right.
what you just said can hit any one of us at any point in time.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, people get ill. We're going through some rough waters right now, although the reality is 99% of those getting this COVID issue survive it. 99%.
Mm-hmm.
That's the reality. However, hospitals are getting anywhere from $20,000 to $30,000 is what I heard. I could be wrong. I don't have actual proof of that, but I hear that they're getting anywhere from 20 to 30,000 per death. That's with COVID. So, hey, I mean, do the numbers. It's a numbers game.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I could be wrong, but that's what I've heard. So, Gina, I believe you. I believe that you put your mind, your motion and emotion together, and this is the outcome. So there's no way why you should doubt yourself, because I believe that what you did is part of what was needed. And if you did it alone, great. If you did it with somebody else, great. Why? The more people doing it together, the more of a realistic approach it can have.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you, Gina.
You're welcome.
You know, thank you. Before I continue to Reg, I just want to let you know, Neville Goddard was an actor and dancer from Barbados who became a philosopher, mystic, and lecturer on the law of attraction from Barbados, the Caribbean islands. Hey, right? He developed a powerful method of manifesting based on experiencing the feeling of the wish fulfilled. That's what we're talking about here, which deeply influenced the next generation of metaphysical explorers. Wayne Dyer's book, Wishes Fulfilled, was based on Neville's method. Ha! We're getting somewhere with these books. I feel the goosebumps coming in. I know that we're getting somewhere. Why? Because most people that are very successful talk about these books. Haven't you noticed? Tony Robbins doesn't talk about these books. I mean, that I've heard of. You know, I don't know if Les Brown talks about these books. So why not? Why keep it a secret? Maybe they're trying to keep people from figuring out the secrets to life. Who knows? But we've discovered them thanks to Gina, Reg, and you know, your input into finding these books. So this volume is not an actual book that we're going through, but it's more of a talk that was very powerful. And what Gina just said is an example of the reality of how powerful this can be. I want to hear from one or two other people, so I want to see if Reg, is there any impact in your life in reference to what you've listened to in this book? Sorry.
I don't know. I have to think about that. But as far as exact stuff, I got to think about that. I didn't really think to have examples of.
Okay.
But
anything that you picked up from this book that was appealing to you?
I mean, it's just a reinforcement of many things that I've heard, and what I like to impart to people that I think is the case, I think is the situation, as far as, we being indivisible from God, and us just sort of owning that with some humility, because you don't want to just walk around and sort of think you're it, but you're actually indivisible. So a lot of times we sort of take ourselves out of that position, if you will, and then we're sort of living in a lesser space, and it's sort of sucky, because all you have to do is believe, and then you sort of endow within you all the power, and all you have to do is believe, and then you can exercise. You start to use that power, and the power is going to help you to manifest whatever it is that you want to manifest. And I just like how Neville got it. Basically, for him, it's just sort of that imagination. Is the way, is the avenue, is the vehicle, is the way in which you can get from from this point to that point, just by how well you're able to imagine. Because ultimately, through your imagination is where you can transform your life and create things. Bring things weird that a lot of us, because of whatever we've been taught, that sort of tells us, well, you can only have if God says you can have. But it's sort of like a circular conversation, because you start to say it, then people say, well, yeah, but only if God says you can have it. But then the Bible and everything else is like God says you can have it. So then it's sort of like, but again, it's just sort of very succinct. It's very powerful stuff when you sort of take it in, and if only we can sort of adopt it more, really take it and make it our own, and so you don't have to go anywhere searching for it, because you are it, and accepting of that is a big thing, taking away from your ultimate beliefs, because it's all sort of stated there, and then you do have this power that if you're going to do, and it's really pretty much that simple. But it's just really taking in the belief and then just sort of owning it and running with it. So that's the way I
got it. Thank you, Reggie. And owning the feeling, the emotion, and creating motion out of it is what is necessary. And I think Reggie, what he said is, the reality. Are you owning the moment? Are you owning reality as if it were happening now? Whatever it is that you want to be real. So thank you, Reggie, for that. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Martha.
Yes, I'm here, David.
Yes. What did you pick up from this book? From this audio? Sorry, I keep saying book.
Yeah. I pick up the imagination creates your reality, and I was surprised that he said that God, we have God in you. The God is in you. You believe it, and I was very impressed with that. And I believe that you have faith. You can create imagination, create your dreams. We all have seeds to plant, depends how wise we use it or not, to these seeds growing up and make a reality. For me, it was very powerful. This is the first time I was reading this book. And I believe creating imagination in your mind is not easy. I think you have to work hard to create that. It's nothing happening overnight, nothing easy. But you work with your brain and your faith, you can make it. your reality and all you see you want in your life. Your dreams come true. I believe in that.
Thank you, Martha. We have to create it through imagination, through the dreams, through making a vision board, putting pictures together, anything to create close to 20 years to get white or blue or red, most probably white or gray. That's probably. Maybe Charles
in the middle of a call, but just to talk about what
okay.
the piggyback off of what Martha stated, it reminded me of I guess that true divinity that's within us, that we can express and imagine whatever it is that we want to accomplish. That each day we are that miracle that people see. Each day that we go forth, we can create and have things change just by our imagination.
Yes, that's right. Just by imagination. Thank you, Charles. One point that I thought was very important was how it is mentioned that Brian Scott mentioned, I don't know if it was Brian Scott or this was a part of the actual talk that Neville Goddard gave, Jesus was not nailed to the cross, according to what is said in this nailed to each and every one of us. And this is why I say in some of the hearings that I probably posted in our group, you know, when you are told, or actually we went through this last week, you know, where do you come from? We come from the light. And most people ask themselves, where are they going? You're going to the light. But if you come from the light and you're going to the light, then where are you now? What are you now? You are light. Right? What are the other two questions that people might ask us? So, for example, is how do you know? Are you him? That would be another question. Are you him? So the answer would be, we are his children, right? That would be another question, is are you him? Are you Jesus? Are you God? We are his children. And then how do you know? How do you know that you are him, that you are his children? Because of movement and repose. I don't know if any of you have heard of this, but this is pretty powerful stuff. It's at the beginning, I was like, that's okay. But then I was like, wait a minute, this is important. This is important. This is a way to answer that I'm not accustomed to. You know, but in all of this, the most powerful thing that we can all practice is silence. I have a hard time practicing meditation, but I attempt it every day. Sometimes my meditation happens when I run, when I walk. But I need to dedicate time to complete meditation because I know that's the best way to get this done. Some people will meditate on someone healing. Some people will meditate on getting money. Some people will meditate on getting a job. Some people will meditate on their bodies. Some people will meditate because they love to meditate, right? Because you're at one with God. It's your direct phone line to God. Meditation. Why? Because silence is the loudest voice. If we practice listening. Am I wrong? I
No.
could be. Thank you, Martha. I could be wrong, but I believe that I'm not far from the truth. I believe that if each and every one of you practices silence through meditation, including me, that soon enough we'll be able to communicate directly with God. And not only communicate, but we'll be able to listen to him. I started practicing a few things. One, if I have a premonition of to do something, I'll do it. Two, if I feel I should walk away, I'll walk away. Three, what's number three? I forgot what number three is. Number three is that when you feel that you need to make a move, that something's going wrong, you have to communicate to get clear answers or to do as your premonition is telling you, because it knows what's best for you. Usually it does. So we'll be inclined to fear, but then our premonition will tell us, let's go for it. If you listen closely, it'll say, let's go for it. However, if it's very fearful, maybe it's going to tell you at the last moment, you got to stop or something like that. All right? Don't fear life. I've had fears. I know that each and every one of us has fear. We should live as if we're living in the end, meaning as if we were successful, as if we were accomplishing whatever it is that we want to accomplish. Plain and simple. Live in the end. Whatever it is that you want to live, you've got to either write it down, imagine it first, write it down, and implement. Why am I telling you this? It says it in this audio, but also I have a millionaire friend who I haven't spoken to in a while. However, what was the most important thing that he told me that I thought was the most important thing was I have all the things I want to do in life written down. He knows exactly what he wants to do. Point A to point B. All right? Do you have a map? Do you know what directions you're headed to in your life? Maybe you do. Maybe you don't. And maybe you might just get lucky if you write something down of your plan in life, and all of a sudden it becomes magical. So that's where I want to end this, is that our dreams are magical. Our dreams are what create a mustard seed, and then implementing our dreams will bring us the magic from within. Everyone, this is the Mastermind Book Club. Tonight we had our speakers, Gina Fouché, Reggie, Martha, and Charles. And next week, tune in next week as we're going to go over one of Stuart Wilde's book, recommended by Reggie, and I think it's very important. Some of you might like the books, some of you might not, but it's very powerful. Why did I say that? Some people don't want to go into too many religious books. I don't necessarily think this is a religious book as much as a guide to being on the right path. Stuart Wilde for next week, everyone. That's it. Have a great evening, and until next week, we'll talk soon.